Hi guys, in this video we're going to be looking at the May release from Warp Miniatures Patreon.
Gruffy Crow.
Okay, so the main feature is going to be this enormous Necromancer model. This guy is a whopper. I printed him at 0.02, so he was a 14-hour print. I'm just going around at the moment, just clearing up some of these tiny little supports on a quite detailed model. It's going to take me a little while just to nip round, but that is absolutely stunning levels of detail that we'll be able to show off better once I've got this guy undercoated, I think. We've also got some of his pieces. We've got zombies. So I messed up my first tray of these guys. I mean, not with the details, they look absolutely fantastic. We've got two female bodies, sort of running type 1, and some more sort of shambling male bodies here. And we've got a fantastic selection of heads, but where I messed up was I only printed right arms, I think. Oh, and we've got a little body popping out of the earth. We've got all sorts of farming gear here, sort of little threshing knives and sickles, and obviously these big stunning scythes that make me think of the old Games Workshop zombies. So quite a lot of options to put these guys together. Quite enjoying all those. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna flip a bunch of these arms to the other side, do another quick print, and get those built up. I also did a little experiment to see what the big guy would look like scaled down a little bit. So here I think this ended up being sort of 0.5, so half the size. Possibly even a little bit smaller, I don't remember now. Basically I wanted to scale him to a similar body height as the zombies to try and scale him a bit more human. And what that's done is that's left some of it a little bit more sort of fragile than obviously the big one, but certainly not unusable. And I'm hoping I can kind of shove him on a little 25mm square base and he can lead my Oathmark army. So we're going to have a little bit of fun trying to ram him on there. Let's see what we can do. And there you go, look, he's fitting right in. So now I'm going to clean up all the supports on these, print some more left arms, and get these all built up. And I'll show you what they look like, all based. Okay, so the zombies are all built, based up, ready to go. And they're looking great, and we'll take a look at them in a sec. For the big guy, I didn't have a base big enough, but Warp Miniatures does some STLs for some bases. But this is the biggest they do really. Well, there's 120, but that's too big for my printer. This is the 60. So all I did was I just kept the height the same and just upscaled the outsides up to an 80, which should be a little bit bigger than a Pringles lid. And that should fit my guy just fine. What I have done, I've just snipped away a little bit of this integral base. And he's going to fit on there nice and central. Might still take a little bit more off. I had a little bit of a problem printing it, but nothing a little bit of filler won't fix. Once that's dry, I can just file it flat. So I'm going to get this guy sitting how I want him on the base. I'm also going to add this little guy that I built with the zombie torso, just rising up in front of him, like he's literally raising the dead as he goes. Then I'll probably add a little bit more of the filler to sort of make the base nice, and then just PVA on some sand like I've done with the zombies. Okay, everything is based up and undercoated now, and look at these details. So this was done with a black undercoat first to get into all the sort of nooks and crannies, and then a grey undercoat from the top. Awesome levels of detail, which I've only got more awesome when I downsized it to fit on a 50mm base, 25mm base, sorry. The zombies I didn't spend as much time on, just threw some grey on them. Looking at them now though, I think they're more like ghouls than zombies because they don't look very undead. With the exception of this guy holding his arm, I think they could get away with being still kind of alive, especially with them running forwards like this. They're kind of almost more ghoulish, holding their sort of various knives and things, ready to go and eat some flesh, which I think is cool. And I might actually downsize them a little bit and use them for ghouls in Oathmark. This is what they look like next to an Oathmark skeleton, just for reference. So they would need to be downsized, probably, I don't know, 10% maybe. So cool, let's get some paint on these. I normally start with flesh tones, so I'll do the same here, except that I'm going to basically work this guy with a sort of grey flesh tone. There we go, found it. I'm going to start the skin on the big guy with this Great Coat Grey. We're going straight out of the pot. This stuff is quite thin, and we only need a thin layer to cover the nice undercoat that I've done. Okay, so I think I'm happy with the skin tone now. You can't really tell at the moment because there's so much of a grey going on. But I tried mixing it with a bit of flesh tone. I didn't really like it, so I ended up mixing it with some of this Pallid Witch flesh, and I quite like the colours that came out of that for the skin. So we're probably going to leave that more or less there. Next up is going to be the main colour on this model, which is going to be another favourite P3 colour of mine, this beaten purple. And I'm basically going to do all of these robes in the purple, which hopefully will be quite striking. Okay, and that is all the big areas I could reach without putting onto any of the skin with my nice big brush in the purple. And what a striking difference already. And once we've got the shoulders in as well, yeah, you can kind of get an impression of the final look. Absolutely love it. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to get all these purples in. And I'll quickly block out any other colours that I think need it. I think we're going to go gold with this guy, lots of gold as well. And I think that's all the purple finished up. And yeah, I am really impressed with that. Okay, it took a couple more passes, but I think I finally finished all the purple. I keep spotting bits that I missed, because there's a lot of sort of folds and wrinkles in this guy. And obviously then I've gone around with this gold purple all over me because the pot's broken. This is just a nice gold base colour. And it's worked quite nicely. I think that's going to be the main sort of contrast points. Next up I'm going to jump in with this Meneth white base, hair, teeth, and all the skulls that are roughly this size. So there's one on the book, one on each shoulder pad. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do those in a sort of bone colour. Okay, with the addition of this Meneth white base, the bone colour on the shoulders and on the hair, in the teeth, the pages in the book and everything. And then I've gone around in the book a dark brown for the start. I'm going to work that up to a sort of leather colour, I think. I think that's all of the sort of base colours laid out. Next up, we're going to shade this purple. So for that, I'm going to use this wet palette, and we've got some of this off-white, this Meneth white highlight. And I know from sort of experience, this works really well with this purple. So I think that's about half and half. I'm going to leave quite a lot of the original colour showing, I think. Really sort of watery highlights. Just anywhere that's raised. Probably covering about, I don't know, 50% of this first layer to start with. Probably easy to show you on the back. Maybe that's a little bit too thin. But I'm just going to slowly, it's going to be a very gradual process, work these highlights up, building on them. And I'll stay at this sort of thin 50-50 sort of mix to start with. And we'll keep it fairly transparent, but keep layering it up to make it nice and solid eventually. So I've been working these purples up. I think it's coming out quite well. I think I'm more or less done. We've got sort of 3 or 4 different sort of shades and layers in there. I think that's brought out all those details, but it looks nice and soft, which is what I quite like. Next up, we're going to use some Aggrex Earth Shade, and we'll shade all these bone parts and the gold, sort of dull that back down quite a lot. We've also got some more metal parts that we've not touched yet, so the last bit we haven't base coated are these. We've got some chains in here, and then obviously this sword. I'm going to do those in the darkest metal I can, so almost black, I think. We'll see how that comes out. The plus side of the wet palette is I can just keep going with these lighter colours until I feel like it's done. Okay, I jumped ahead a little bit, finished off the cloak. We got that wash on the gold, and I'm really happy with the way that's looking. I'm probably not going to do too much else with that. I've highlighted up some of the bone sections a little bit lighter, and the hair as well. Just going around sort of doing some little highlights here and there. And we've painted the sword and the chains in the silver. The eyes I've tried to do quite bright white, and now I've got some violet wash. And I'm hoping that this is going to give a nice glow effect. Maybe not. Yeah, no, I think it's kind of works. And I've got this Basilica Grey contrast paint I'm going to use to glaze the sword down even darker as well. Okay, so now I'm just going to finish up this little zombie, finish up the base, and we'll see what the finished thing looks like. Okay, here he is all finished up. I've worked out all around the base, though it does need a little bit of a tidy up. We've gone for some sort of dead grass and sort of leaves. I'm really impressed with the way he's come out. I'm really happy with it. Especially as it is a relatively simple paint job I've given him, you could certainly go a lot harder on this guy. It's a lot of fun to paint. I haven't had time to finish the zombies, but I think I'm going to, as I said before, do maybe a little downscale squad of these and put them on some square bases and see if I can make them into a little unit. That'd be quite fun. We've also got the smaller one somewhat finished. I'm really happy with the way he came out. Once again, a relatively simple paint job, and I went for a bit more monochrome, went silver this time rather than gold. And I think he's going to fit in with the rest of my sort of slowly growing undead army quite nicely. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy with the Mini. Really impressed. I think the models from Warp Miniatures that Alex is sculpting, I think he's getting better every month. This guy's obviously heavily inspired by Nagash. And I love how Alex has taken elements of the original sort of old Hammer Nagash model and then sort of updated it with sort of his style, and obviously then giving it the scale of the sort of more recent Nagash Mini. But even then, I don't think he's quite that large, and I'm fairly sure even in printer resin he'd be easier to transport. So he'll be available on Patreon and My Mini Factory Tribes for all of May, along with the zombies. And as ever, I'll stick some links in the description if you want to pick one up for yourself. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments. Maybe subscribe for more. And as ever, thanks for watching. Bye.